2026 isn't even half over, and yet this year's horror movie crop so far has borne some bountiful fruit. Hokum, Backrooms, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, Send Help, Ready or Not 2, They Will Kill You, and some other films I'm probably forgetting, though forgetting things is my speciality, have all delivered thrills and chills and Sarah Michelle Gellar, which is an attribute that cannot be overstated. And this is all before referencing what is arguably 2026's biggest horror hit thus far, which is not to say the current state of my finances, but rather the film that shattered box office expectations versus its minuscule budget and is lauded by both critics and audiences. A little movie called Obsession, which I don't know why I built a lead up to that point. You probably already know the topic of today's video, because I assume you know how to read the title. Obsession stars Michael Johnston, Inde Navarrette, Cooper Tomlinson, and Megan Lawless, and is written and directed by Curry Barker in what is the young man's second feature-length film. Though Barker's first feature, Milk and Cereal, cute title, barely cleared the 1 hour mark, so take that for what it's worth. Obsession's plot follows Bear, no relation, who is a socially awkward dorkling that is hardcore crushing on his friend Nikki, but instead of confessing his feelings to her like a normal and rational person, because emotional vulnerability, that's the true horror that men face in life, Bear utilizes a one-wish willow, a one-time usage monkey's paw sort of deal where you say a wish out loud and then break the said magic willow to confirm the wish. Bear, no relation, wished that Nikki would love him more than anything in the world, which is a shitty thing to wish for, but in some fairness to him, he didn't believe it would actually work. So 1 point for Bear. But instead, the wish became reality to where Nikki loves Bear. If anything, she loves Bear too much, to the point that Nikki's behavior is off-putting and frightening, portraying a devotion that subtracts love in favor of psychotic obsession, hence the film's title. And from there, Bear, no relation, has buyer's remorse and thus needs to figure out what he needs to do in order to either coexist with Nikki's bad magic malware update or undo the wish entirely. Obsession's strongest points is from its performance by Navarrette's Nikki, a performance that's both stellar and chilling. While sure there are other great performances and attributes within Obsession, Navarrette essentially runs point here. As Nikki, she begins the film as a likable, intelligent, and witty young woman, to where you understand why Bear has goo-goo eyes for her. Also, Navarrette was a gaming Twitch streamer once, so that's pretty fucking cool. But as soon as Bear breaks the one-wish willow, Nikki's entire personality and demeanor changes on a dime. A big dime. In fact, Bear becomes her entire personality. Her free will is essentially debased into an uncomfortable and creepy need to please Bear, living only for him. And uncomfortable and creepy are the operable words here. Due to Nikki's obsession for Bear's affection, she creates situations that would be embarrassing or humiliating were it to happen to anyone else if they were to care about their social reputations or just having self-respect in general, though that's a big if for some people. Furthermore, Nikki's behavior is unpredictable, like Nikki hiding in a corner and watching Bear sleep, pissing herself as she remains rooted and staring at the door for 8 hours waiting for Bear to come home from work, having volatile outbursts and violent impulses, and how Obsession conveys that the real Nikki, her actual consciousness, is trapped inside her body, whilst this new Bear crazy version rules the roost, is all unsettling as fuck. It's creepy and disturbing, which is honestly what you want from a horror movie. Obsession's lighting is also fairly stellar. The movie plays around with dimly lit areas and shadows to where Nikki's face is often covered in darkness, a visual that is simultaneously eerie, all while symbolizing that something is deeply wrong with Nikki, establishing some truly haunting imagery. Admittedly, there's another big reason why Obsession works, but I'm gonna have to go into some spoilery territory in order to explain why that is the case. So yeah, from here on out, the rest of this video is spoiler heavy. I'm about to discuss some narrative and thematic elements that require me to divulge some specific information about the movie. Specific information that will be too revelatory of Obsession's plot for those who haven't seen it yet. So if you still have yet to catch a showing of Obsession and wish to remain unspoiled, I recommend skipping this video for now. You can always come back to this review when you are ready. I promise. You have been warned. So, Bear is a piece of shit. While the character making this wish about Nikki believing it wouldn't work anyway is fair to his moral character, what is less understandable is that when the wish's effectiveness becomes abundantly clear, Bear just rolls with it, even though it's obvious that Bear is overlooking Nikki's sycophantic servitude, ignoring that he stole Nikki's right to consent, which is honestly what the film is about. Now, you might be wondering, if Bear is such a sack full of deer pebble dingus, a point that Obsession clearly establishes within the first third of the movie, how are we supposed to sympathize with Bear's plight when it's abundantly obvious that he is violating Nikki's autonomy in every facet of her life? How are we supposed to empathize with Bear when the reason as to why he begins to have second thoughts is unrelated to any sense of moral consciousness, but is instead due to Nikki's bizarre and disturbing behavior? Well, to answer, Obsession solves this dilemma in 3 ways. Firstly, Nikki's actions are frightening regardless of Bear's lack of morals. Like, speaking for myself, the aforementioned idea of my girlfriend standing in the darkened abyss and watching me sleep isn't exactly something I desire on any day of my life. As far as horrifying things that could happen to me go, it's just a few notches removed from being touched in the belly button, which, as we all know, is the most awful and horrific thing that can ever happen to someone, and is obviously not some strange phobia that I collected since childhood that has never gone away. Because belly buttons, they're fucking disgusting. Secondly, Nikki is a threat to the other characters as well. In fact, she becomes jealous whenever Bear spends time with their other friends, and thus those same friends are endangered by her. So that allows the audience to be concerned about their safety as well. And thirdly, and most importantly, the reason as to why we care about any potentially bad thing happening to Bear is due to how there are multiple instances within Obsession where Bear has the opportunity to do the right thing and help free Nikki. There are moments where he contemplates growing a conscience even all the way to the very end of the film. Like, there are so many moments within Obsession where the viewer is like, so yeah, this is when that asshole is about to turn a corner. This is when he fixes his shit. This is when he goes back to Whoville and returns all the presents. Only for Bear to fuck up and to choose his own wants and desires over Nikki's time and time and time a fucking again. And this is genius. These numerous moments convince the audience to care about Bear because we hope that he's about to grow as a person. But the movie instead firmly establishes Bear's true identity as being gutter trash, meaning that Obsession does the rare balancing act of having a loathsome protagonist, all while utilizing narrative sleight of hand to trick us into caring about him. As I said, genius. So yeah, Obsession is an excellent horror movie in a year of great horror movies. The stellar performances, filmmaking choices, and narrative structure all elevate this movie to being better than most horror movies released in 2026. Even the numerous great ones. And this is to say nothing about how the film walks a tight, high-wire act, one that balances thematic depth and visceral entertainment, becoming that type of movie that audiences love to watch and then discuss long after the credits roll. Obsession is just the type of movie that the cinema-going public craves more of. So yeah, thank you for watching another episode of Biological Riley. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment telling me what you thought of this video and its respective topic. Also, definitely consider supporting my channel on Patreon, which will allow you to see some early access videos and allow your name to be seen on the credits here. If Patreon isn't your jam right now, you can still support my channel through a one-time donation via Ko-fi, which will earn you a temporary credit for videos released in the following month. Any financial assistance is always appreciated. Links in the description. Thanks again for the support. See you next time.